I believe that by traveling, I can get a better understanding of why we are alive. Why do we live? What's the point, of our life, right? And we all have our different perspectives. So I'm just a student of that, trying to understand as many perspectives as I can so that I develop a better sense of why it is we are alive.
There are only 3 people who's visited every country in the world twice. Gunnar Garfors from Norway is one. We had him on the podcast a few weeks ago. And one of the other guests, Slawek Muturi, is one of the other 2. In fact, he's visited all the UN nations at least twice. He told me that he's been to more than 150 countries 3 times.
So I was told, I find it bizarre as well, and...
So why in the world did you do that?
Yeah, curiosity, to see what's changed, to refresh my memory.
The other guest today is Mette Ehlers Mikkelsen, who is very close to her last country. And she's very unique too, because she's a single mother who travels with her children. Of the few people who can claim to have gone to every country in the world, only 10% are women, and only 3 of those women are mothers.
There's only 3 mothers who have actually gone to every 193 countries. And I promise you, there are none of them who have been a single mother of 3 kids. I've got that category all to myself.
My name is Palle Bo. Welcome to the Radio Vagabond, episode 240, with Mette Ehlers Mikkelsen and Slawek Muturi.
Meet Palle Bo on an epic journey around the world. This is the Radio Vagabond.
Slawek Muturi has been traveling independently since he was a student as he took to the rails of Europe. His first long overland trip took place in 1989 as he traveled from Poland to Kenya in a Land Rover. Slawek is half Polish, half Kenyan, so it was a trip that connected his 2 homelands. In 2009, he had completed the quest of traveling to every country in the world, and since then, he did it one more time. Slawek travels on a shoestring budget. He likes to travel like a local and only carries a small backpack.
We are at Extraordinary Travel Festival, and with me now I have 2 completely amazing guests. One is Danish, so we could have done this in Danish, but we have a very funny mixture, a Polish Kenyan guy, and he does not speak much Danish, do you?
No, only a little Swedish.
Okay, så kan vi jo godt snakke, fordi svensk og dansk er jo tæt på hinanden.
Lidt svenska.
Okay. Now let's do it in English. First of all, hi Mette.
Hej Palle Bo. Det er godt at møde dig.
Yeah, it's so good to meet you too, and we've been communicating, but this event is the first time we meet in person, and I had a chance to sit next to you at a bar last night, so we got speaking until 2 o'clock in the morning, which I thought was impressive since you had a talk this morning. What was that about?
I had a talk this morning about chasing 193 with children.
Yeah.
So not just traveling with children, not even just traveling to every country in the world, but trying to achieve this goal with children, actively traveling with small children.
Yeah, and especially your oldest daughter, she's been to more countries than me.
115, and the 2 other ones, 85 countries each. So that will be about 285 countries, and that's quite a few plane tickets that I've covered on that one.
Oh yeah. Not only is it's a great pleasure, I love traveling with my kids. I just did that a couple of weeks ago, and I've traveled in Asia with my youngest, and my oldest came to Japan and joined us there, and I always enjoyed traveling with them. I've always enjoyed traveling with them, even before I started traveling full time. It was my go-to present for them. It was a trip to London or somewhere, because I gave myself a present that way as well.
I love traveling with my kids, and I always give them presents like that. So when my oldest daughter finished high school, it was a trip to Mauritania.
Yeah. None of her colleagues got anything close to that.
Not really Mauritania, no. Maybe London.
For shopping.
Yeah. That's a little bit more exotic. What about you, Slawek? Have you traveled with kids?
Oh yes, I have. And so, my son, before he turned 2, he'd already been on 6 continents.
Oh.
Right. And we were roughing it. And we also had we developed this technique. We would, on a plane, if we were flying somewhere, we would ask that they serve our kids food fast because they were slow eaters. Mm-hmm. So we would feed them, they eat, our food arrives, and then we ask them to go to the toilet. We go to the toilet with them. They have to, relieve themselves, and then we sleep, and we sleep the whole flight. Mm-hmm. And it was developed to such a degree that very often in the morning, after we woke up and had breakfast, the air hostesses would come to us asking, how did you do this? What's the formula? Mm-hmm. So yeah, they were very well behaved, and they also enjoyed traveling.
I remember when mine were very small and we would drive across Europe. I had a trick that me and my ex-wife, their mom, we brought a little gift. So when they asked after 3 hours, are we there yet? We would give them a gift, and that would keep them occupied. And that could be some coloring pencils or a book or something. Nowadays, they just give them the iPad.
Yeah, exactly. And then my kids, as you had mentioned, also one time my son asked for a new phone. And I actually went to the shop with him to ask him exactly what phone he needed. And when I saw the price, I said, my God, what has that phone got, to cost so much? And then I told my son, look, let me think about it. I came back to him a day later, and I said, look, you can have the phone, or you don't have to answer me now. Or he says, well, you don't need to continue. I'll be the happiest kid. I need the phone. Mm-hmm. Or we can go to London for a Chelsea game. Oh. Yeah? You don't have to answer now. Have a few minutes or a few days, think about it. And then he thought about it and came back and said, it's London, right? Or Manchester, or wherever, for a football game. And that's how it worked. And interestingly, after that, for 5 years, he was a teenager, so in his teens. For 5 years afterwards, he didn't even have a phone at all. He went phoneless. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. He said it's much better that way. When he makes arrangement to meet with his friends at 4. Yeah. They meet at 4. He waits 15 minutes, and he says before that, you'd get back and forth, ideas all the way to the 4 o'clock. You aren't really sure when you are meeting or where you are meeting, and so on. So he says this is much better. You just make a plan and stick to it.
Yeah. And Mette, we talked about that your kids really have the travel bug, and they got it, and they were kind of annoyed that you were going to Armenia and they were not. But yours travel bug as well?
Yes, but my kids are, they're adults. My daughter is 30 and my son is 27. And the interesting thing now is that they travel on their own, and I discover after they've come back, it's only when they tell me where they've been, and
they don't ask Dad for advice?
Well, they don't ask me for advice. They don't ask me for money, they just go on their own,
Mette Ehlers Mikkelsen is the most traveled Danish woman, and as mentioned, most of the time traveling with her kids. A week after I met her in Armenia, she went to Somaliland with her 2 oldest kids, Lærke and Nikolai. That brought Lærke on 116 countries, which is one more than me. And I am not 19 years old like her. A few weeks later, Mette went to Eritrea with her youngest daughter, Ella.
So you have well-traveled kids, but let's talk about you guys, because Mette, you are 4 countries away from completing the UN list of 193 countries.
Yes, I am. And I'm actually going to the next country on Wednesday, so in 2 days' time, with the 2 eldest kids, so we're flying to Somaliland.
Oh, the 2 eldest are coming as well.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They got the choice between go with mother to Somaliland or go with dad and his new family to Mallorca.
Mm-hmm. No brainer.
Yeah.
But
it's different travel patterns. It's different destinations.
Yeah.
And this changing from traveling to places with children to traveling, chasing 193, it gives you this focus on some of the world's least traveled countries, and also this forcing yourself to see what is to experience there. And then you come to realize there's something worth experiencing in every country, and there's kindness in every country. And that is actually a very, very good way of expanding our horizon.
Exactly. So Somaliland, what are the other three?
It's Eritrea, Turkmenistan, and North Korea. And I just got the visa for Eritrea after having waited 2 months, so I'm very excited about that.
Because those countries are not the easiest.
No, I live in this sort of steady worry that for some reason they'll decide and they don't want me in, and I would be standing outside being like, I really want to visit. So let's hope that they see it as a fun thing to have this crazy traveling.
Do you know which one is going to be the last one?
I expect it to be North Korea, because it seems that after COVID, the sort of double closure of China and North Korea is the one that will stick the longest. So I presume that will be the last one to open.
Yeah. The guy beside you, among these people here at this event, he's like a rock star, because he is, as far as I know, he's one of the only 3 people in the world that have been to every country in the world twice.
So I was told, I mean, I find it bizarre as well, and...
So one thing is to go to every country in the world, but then after that decide, hey, let me do it again. Why in the world did you do that?
Yeah, curiosity, to see what's changed, to refresh my memory. And also, you see, for the last 25 years, before I set up a Facebook account briefly and Instagram, I had a brief idea of doing a project which required social media presence, which I dumped later. But in the 25 years prior to that, I had not taken a single photo from my travels, not even a single one.
So you had to go back to get the photos?
Not really, but you see, I hear people often say, I have to take photos because I don't know if I'll ever be back here again. Mm-hmm. But my assumption was always, I will be back, so I don't need to take photos and check all the sites.
Yeah, and actually, a lot of them you've been to 3 times.
Well, 3 years, about 150 countries I've been to at least 3 times, but of course there are some countries I've been to 80 or 120 times.
So are you going to do that too, Mette?
With grandchildren?
Actually, I was, I think, 45 years old before I decided I wanted to travel every country in the world. Before I said to myself that might actually be possible. So, but I always traveled, always. So I have just studied and lived for about 8 years abroad. Mm-hmm. And all of these trips visiting one specific country, they are above that in the amount of years that I've spent abroad. Yeah. So the really wish to be global in my mindset and understanding the world and expanding my horizon and trying to make a difference, that was always there, and it will always be there. Mm-hmm. Exactly what travel pattern I will have, I'm not quite sure. I'm sure I'll go to Antarctica to visit all the continents as well. But the only way I can be someone placing myself in a category as extreme and exclusive as Slawek here is basically the fact that there are as few women or as few mothers who have traveled the world with their children as there are of men who have traveled the world twice. Yeah. There's only 3 mothers who have actually gone to every 193 countries. And I promise you, there are none of them who have been a single mother of 3 kids. I've got that category all to myself.
This episode is brought to you in part by this website called hotels25.com. If you're a regular listener, you have heard me mention this before. And I can't say this enough. This is a cool website. It helps you find the cheapest hotel rooms around the world. Hotels25.com. You should try it out. It actually works.
My name is Bond.
Radio Vagabond.
Let's go back in time when you made the decision to go to see if you could get to every country in the world. So in your case, Slawek, that's a while ago. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the first time, not the third or the fourth time. Right. So what was the trigger? How was that decision? What happened?
Yeah, that's an easy question for me to answer because I know precisely when that happened. It happened on the 1st of January 2000. And I used to review every year that's gone by and make plans for the coming year. And then I can review it at the end of the year, right? But on January 1st, 2000, I didn't just review 1999 because of the new millennia and so on. I decided to review all the 35 years of my life till that point. Mm-hmm. And obviously it took me quite a long time to, go through my life and make like an inventory, if you like. Yeah. And then one of the things on my inventory that came up was that I had been to 84 countries. And it surprised me. And then the next question was, how many countries are there? And so I made another list of the countries I haven't been to, and the countries and territories. So it was a bit wider than just 193, and so it was about 140 that I needed to visit, to complete my list. And then the next question was, well, how long will that take, And this was the year 2000. I had planned to retire in the year 2013. So it was like 14 years away. So I said, okay, 140 countries and territories to see and 14 years, that's nice. It's 10 a year, right? So and actually I managed to beat my plans. So I retired 4 years earlier than I had planned. And I saw South Sudan, my last country, a few months after I retired. So I actually completed this in September or October of 2009.
Yeah. So you were around 84 countries in. Mette, where were you when you made the decision?
I made the decision in the Dominican Republic during a Christmas, actually on the 24th of December, when I was standing in front of the statue of Christopher Columbus, celebrating country number 100. I brought all my 3 children. I brought my boyfriend, and I had a rum in one hand and a cigar in the other, celebrating country number 100. And I was like, hey, I can do this. This is really cool. I love this feeling. Maybe I'm going to go for it. Yeah. So that's how I made it.
Yeah, you need some time off, right? Like a festive season to make big decisions, right? Like me,
because get to reflect a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and you woke up on January 1st and realized that the computers were actually working.
Yeah, and mind you, I was a consultant, a management consultant, and we made a lot of money by scaring CEOs of big companies that, the world is going to come crashing down. Yeah. And I was really actually listening to what is going on, and expecting where is the carnage going to start, and I'm very happy that it didn't.
Yeah. And I can kind of figure out that we're around the same age. I was on that specific New Year's Eve. I was in Lanzarote, of all places. Not that exotic, but still.
Hey, I was.
And I had no idea that I was going to be a full-time traveler. 16 years later. Yeah.
Well, you're in Lanzarote. I was in Warsaw. With the snow So I wouldn't complain. I wouldn't be complaining.
Of all the places that you've been to, this is going to be difficult. I'm not going to ask for your favorite place, but I'm going to ask, what is the most underrated place that nobody expect or you didn't expect anything of, and then it just blew you away, surprised you?
Yeah, I mean, the places that really surprised me, because even without reading, I purposefully try not to read or research a country before I visit. And but even despite that, you still have some understanding of what to expect. So the countries that surprised me the most are 2, is North Korea and Bhutan.
Why?
Bhutan because I was shocked that it's so beautiful, that it's so clean, that the architecture in Bhutan is fantastic. If you were just dropped there with your blindfolded. And you might think that you're in Switzerland, looking at the houses and people, the way they dress, the traditions they preserved, fantastic. And then you're driving around the country. I had to have a guide. It's not a country where you can travel independently. Mm-hmm. And then the guides got late at the airport picking me up, and I sort of didn't feel I'm paying him a lot of money, and he comes late a few hours. So to make it up, he really took me into people's homes, and I would ask, so what's that big gathering of people, right? And he says, oh, it's a wedding. Do you want us to go? And what? Well, we can go to a wedding, why not? So we go, and and I'm in a village. This is a wedding in a village. And I'm thinking, how do I communicate with these people? They welcome me and so on. So I tried in broken English to say, and I was awed when they answered in fluent English, Or another snapshot is we are walking on a different day. We were walking in some mountain, and again, there are villagers sitting on the grass, under a tree, talking. And actually, the person standing and giving the talk and gesturing and so on is a lady. And I ask, well, what's going on here, right? And actually, this is the village coming to decide how they are going to spend the budget, whether it's to build another classroom or they decide. So very democratic, and you wouldn't expect that. And in Bhutan, I could go on and on and on. But one last thing, it's a country which is poor, by European standards. It's more richer than India, and they are resource rich. But they refuse to dig up their resources because it would spoil the environment. And I was thinking, wow. And a few weeks before that, I read that Canada is really doesn't, the big corporations are really damaging the environment, without, any attention, which was really, it's something you wouldn't expect.
No, you would more expect it to be Canada saying that, oh, we don't want to ruin the beautiful nature.
Right.
But Bhutan, really?
Yeah, wow. Of all places, yes.
Yeah. You mentioned North Korea as well, I'm curious.
Yeah, North Korea, because, few people go there. And the first time I went was in 2003, and even fewer people went then.
Oh, yeah.
And North Korea was like in a time capsule, It seemed all they were talking about is the war, the revolution, and it's like it hadn't changed, And North Korea shocked me because, there was no Coca-Cola. There was no taxis. There was no...
Not even a McDonald's.
Not even a McDonald's. There was no... And the music you are hearing was not Rihanna,
No.
And so it felt like traveling in time, and that was really amazing.
Yeah. I remember going on the subway. It reminded me of my time in East and West Berlin when I was in school, when the wall was still there, because it's the same trains are now in Pyongyang.
Well, yeah, they had even the DDR cars. The railway cars were made in DDR, right? Yeah.
So, Mette, most underrated place?
To me, it's still Estonia, because Estonia is supposed to be, I don't know, maybe in another Eastern European country. But to me...
Oh, don't call them that, then there'll be a...
I know, but to me, Estonia is one of the most important countries in the world. It was the first country where I was posted as a young Danish diplomat at the time where we wanted to help them get into EU, get into NATO. Yeah. So it's such a fundamentally changing time in their history as a country. And I was actually there on this 1st of January 2000.
2000,
right? That was when, among others, I was there. And I was on duty at the embassy, and I'd been told that I had to call their civil defense every 2 hours, all night, to make sure that if there were any nuclear power plant on the other side of the border in Russia that would completely explode, that I would be told. Obviously, my father was in this Danish civil defense, and he just looked at me like, oh, sweetheart, we're going to know that way before you are anyway. Yeah. So that's always takes sort of the pride out of a young person, a young professional thinking, I'm completely necessary for world peace and security. But that whole being a small part of getting this country the future, the security and the prosperity that they really wanted and they really needed. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And I still, to this day, all the times I go back, I love and I admire this entrepreneur spirit. They went to e-government right away. They they really took leadership. The strong people returned from different countries to go back to their own home country and really make a difference. So that strong leadership that gave, and that strong sort of ownership of taking responsibility for the direction that your country takes, that I really like.
Yeah. I'm totally with you on Estonia, and in fact, it was the first country on my journey when I started 6.5 years ago. I started in Tallinn, and I thought, as a Dane, that was also quite symbolic, because the legend has it. I don't know if you know this, Slawek. The legend has it that the first national flag anywhere in the world fell down from the sky in the middle of a battle, and that was the Danish flag. So when I think it was part of Denmark back then.
1219, and that is why Tallinn is called Tani Linn. That means the Danish city, city of the Danes. And at that particular year 2000, the Tallinn city and a Danish foundation co-financed that I could be the project leader for reconstructing that whole park they have in the middle of Tallinn. So that is probably the only time I get to put the Danish flag sort of basically in bricks anywhere else in the world.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Is there, we're almost out of time, is there anything, if you could go back in time and give yourself a good advice about the journey that you're about to embark on, what would that advice be?
To me, it would be to always remember that by far most people are really kind and friendly and helpful. To be more courageous, less afraid, and to bring my children, because they always this wonderful icebreaker, and very few people really hurt a mother and children. So just trusting in that.
It's a very good question. I really have to think a little more than just this conversation we are having. But I don't think I would change anything in what I've done in terms of how I approach. I travel simple, and sort of being close to the ground, and I don't think I would have changed much.
If travel is your passion, and you want escapism while still upholding your work and family responsibilities, you can travel vicariously from the comfort of your own home. This is the Radio Vagabond Podcast.
Is there anything you'd like to ask Mette?
Mette, yeah, that's a good one.
See, now I'm sort of relaxing, and can you please take over my job?
Right, exactly, yeah. Mette, so can we go somewhere together?
That would be amazing. I would actually like both to work and travel with you. That would be very inspiring.
Work, I'm a bit lazy, but travel, yes. So we'll think about where to go, right? Maybe after you've done, the 4 remaining countries, and we can visit some of the favorite countries.
See what happens? All of a sudden, I've connected 2 travelers here on the show, and they're planning a trip together. That actually also happens in the next episode. Have a listen to this clip.
Maybe go see Christmas Island during Christmas. And so,
you should come with me.
You going?
December.
Wow, then let's go then.
I already got a hotel and a rental car already.
Oh my God, it's been high on my bucket list. I want to see it.
It's during the forecast week I'm there.
Okay, cool.
The voices you heard here were Romain Wells and David Yang. They're 2 of the 3 guests on the episode coming out in a few days. The third one is 77-year-old Odette Ricasa.
Sierra Leone, nobody wanted to go with me, so I went by myself.
Romain from Jamaica, Odette from the Philippines, and David from Taiwan have 2 things in common. They've all just completed the 193 UN nation list, and they were all the first in their country to do so.
About 3 weeks ago, so still fresh.
Mine was around June. Yeah.
Mine was August 22nd.
So we dubbed them the 193 Babies. And you can meet the babies on the next episode.
And the final question, are you a different person than you would have been without traveling? What has traveling done to you?
To me, it's made me even more what I was before. So I think it just enforced or empowered all the characteristics that were in me, both the courage, the adventure, the wanderlust, also the caring for others and the wish to make a positive difference in the world. Mm-hmm. Mostly for me, very much for women, mm-hmm. for girls, and for environment. But could I, in any way, I think that's it. It just enhanced all of it.
Yeah, my answer would be quite similar, and I give this at the talk. Once visited New Zealand, or visited a few times, but on one of the occasions, I read a story about the Maori view on life, and they see life as a thread which lasts 20 years or 50 or however long you live, and then every person you meet, starting from your mom and your siblings and dad and grandparents and then kids in school, and every single person you meet sort of adds their thread of life to yours. They intertwine. And as you add on more and more, some of those threads will be added just for a few minutes, half an hour, like maybe, like this conversation, or the people that are listening to the podcast. But some of these threads will be intertwined for life. Yeah. And each of those visits on each of those countries, every interaction I've had with my neighbors from the Czech Republic or Denmark or Romania or, any country, have added a thread to my life. So what I know is that my life thread is no longer a thread. It's a big rope, big strong rope that probably you can pull a big Maersk container ship with, right? So that's how I see it. That it's reinforced, like Mette said. Just made me stronger and more resilient, more relaxed, more reflective, more humble. Because when you travel, like for example, one of the things I do, I try to learn a language, and I go to China, and I realize that 1.3 billion people are better than me. They speak the language fluently, right? And I'm struggling,
They're pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're really smart, and I'm struggling, and I'm just defeated, right? So it just shows, it's built more. I hope it's built more humbleness, humility, and tolerance. Also, stretching my point of view, because I believe that by traveling, I can get a better understanding of why we are alive. Why do we live? What's the point, of our life, right? And Europeans look at life differently. Rich people versus poor people. People who have families versus those who don't. We all have our different perspectives. So I'm just a student of that. Trying to understand as many perspectives as I can, so that I develop a better sense of why it is we are alive.
I think also in business, if you're just looking at business life, and for companies to expand, to work around the world, to have employees one place, suppliers in another, customers 10, 20, 100 other places, having visited those countries, having traveled there, having seen the markets, seen the people, an actual impression of how is this. To me, that has also really taught me so much. And it taught me a lot of things that I didn't know. Yeah, exactly. So studying international business and thinking I knew about sales and marketing and internationalization and leadership. But then when I actually visit, it gives so many more nuances and so much more understanding of how does this work. So for me, both as a person and as a business person, that has really made a huge impact.
That's it for this episode, supported in part by Hotels25.com. Remember to use it next time you're looking for a place to stay. I know that so many people are just going straight to Booking.com, Hotels.com, Agoda, or one of the other big sites out there. But why not search all of them, plus about 15 other sites, in one simple search? You can do that with Hotels25, and sometimes you'll get a better price on exactly the same room on a search site that you probably never even heard of. Hotels25.com. It's best price guaranteed.
Thank you so much, guys. And if you are going to travel somewhere, please ask me if I want to tag along.
Yeah.
You got a deal.
Thank you, guys.
Tack så mycket. Dziękuję.
My name's Palle Bo. See ya.
Produced by RadioGuru.co.uk.